Hello all. Today I'm going to talk about selection statements. Till now we've been looking into sequential statements, right? Each statements are followed sequentially in a program, executed sequentially in a program, right? Now we're looking into selection statements. That means sometimes a program needs to be executed upon a particular condition. Upon certain conditions, these statements are executed, and these statements are called as selection statements. They're also known as control statements or conditional statements. Now, these are the four types of statements that we'll be looking into in selection control structure. They are if statement, or also known as symbol if statements. The other is if else statements. The next is nested if statements. The next is switch statements. Now let's look into it further in detail. First is the if statement, also known as simple if statements. It consists of a boolean expression followed by a set of statements that based on a certain condition, this statement will be executed. This is the syntax of the if statement. If expression, when the expression is true, it will enter into the body of the if statement and execute it sequentially. This is the flow diagram. The statement is the program's execution is first approached with a condition, and if the condition is true, it will enter the conditional code block and execute it, and then go to the next statement. It's like a sequential manner itself. Only difference is that in the first statement it will be executed based on a condition. After that, it will follow the same way the program does. After one statement, it will go to the next statement. If the condition is true, it will enter the body of the statement. If the condition is false, it will follow it will execute the statement after the if statement. This is the example of an if statement. Here we start with a header file hash include iostream.h using namespace std that which indicates that we are using a standard input device or output device, and this is the main part of the program. Here we are starting with an integer type. We have declared an integer int a equal to 10. Now this is the condition part. If a less than 20, 10 is less than 20, true. So that means it will print, since it's not in double quotes, it will print the value of a 10. Since this sentence is in double quotes, this sentence just like that will be inserted on the screen, and it will come 10 is lesser than 20. Now the if statement is over. The next state, now we are sequentially going to the next statement after the conditional statement, that is the value of a is that, since the sentence is in double quotes, it will be printed just like that in the screen. Value of a is, and since it's not in double quotes, it will print the value of a. The value of a is 10, right? So the output will be value of a is 10. Next is the if else statement. Symbol if is just based on a boolean expression. Right? Here it's the same. It's a conditional statement itself. Here is either this or that. When we execute a code, if the condition is true, we'll execute this code. If it's not, we'll execute another code. We can take the literal meaning of it. If else statement. If this condition is true, it'll enter the body of the if statement. Otherwise, it will go to the else statement. See, this is the syntax. If condition, a set of statements. If the condition is true, if this condition is false, it will go to the else statement. That means if the condition is true, it will execute one set of code. If it's false, it will execute another set of code. It's like the ternary operator. If the condition is true, we will get one result, and if the condition is false, we get another result. Here we are using if else instead of the ternary operator. They're using the same concept. Here, if the condition is true, we execute a set of statements, and if the condition is false, we also have another set of statements to be executed. This is the flow diagram. First, the program will be approached with a condition. If it's true, the code inside the if body will be executed. If it's false, the code inside the else body will be executed. After either one of them will be executed, and after that sequentially it will go for the next statement after the condition statement. Here is an example of an if-else statement. Here is followed by a header file. Starts with a header file iostream.s. Since we are using input and output stream, we are using the standard input and output device from the C++ library, so that's the reason why we've declared using namespace std. Next is the main function. This is the main part of the program. Now we have declared an integer a equal to 66. Now we are going into the conditional statement. If a less than 50, 66 less than 50 is false, so this condition won't be executed. The next is also a conditional statement. Else 66 is either larger than or equal to 50. If it was less than 50, if the condition was true, then if statements condition would have been fulfilled, but it's false, so we went to the program went to the next statement, that is the else part. 66 is larger than or equal to 50. Next is the nested if statements. This is it's a simple if it's with an if else condition. The difference here is that in an if, once an if condition is fulfilled, inside that body of the if, it is followed by another if condition, if an outer if and an inner if. Such statements, conditional statements, are called nested if statements, of if followed by another if. This is the syntax. If condition, if it's true, it will enter into the body of the if condition, if statement, and followed by another if condition, and this block of code is executed. If this outer if is the condition is false, it will go to the else statement. The else statement of the outer else, not the okay. First, the outer if condition is executed, then it's followed by another if. If that if is not executed, there's an else part for it inside the body of the if. But suppose if the outer if's condition is not fulfilled, then it will go to the else statement connected to the outer if, that is the outer else set of statements. This is the flow diagram. If the boolean expression is true, it will enter body of if, followed by the nested expression with if and else statement inside the body of the if. And if it's true, it will again follow the body of the if and go for the statement after the if, and that means the outer if. If it's false, it will enter into the body of else and follow the statement after if. But suppose in the starting itself the boolean expression becomes false, then it will enter body of else. In that body of else also there's a nested expression of if and else. If that nested expression 2 is true, it will enter body of if, else it will enter body of else, and after finishing the conditional statement, we'll sequentially go to the statement after the conditional statement. By sequentially I mean step by step. This is the example of a nested if. Now we have declared an integer n equal to 90. 90 less than 100. Condition is true. We print 90 is less than 100, just the number is less than 100. But after the cout statement, there's an if statement. It's written if n greater than 50. 90 is greater than 50, so it will again print number is greater than 50. Next is the else if statements. These are also known as if else if statements or the else if ladder. That means just like a nested if, there is a nested else. Here is if the condition of if part is false, it will go to the else part, but in the else part there is also a condition to enter into the else part. That's why it's mentioned with an else if ladder, and if that is also false, it will go to the default else statement. This is the flow diagram. If the program starts and it's followed by boolean expression, that is the condition part. If it's true, it executes statement and goes to the rest of the code, and if it's false, it will be approached to another boolean expression, that is the else if part. When they enter the else part, it will be followed by another condition, and if that condition is fulfilled, you can execute statement 2 and follow the rest of the code. Else, again, it will be false. It will be followed by another boolean expression if it's there, and if it's true, it will execute that same. But here in this case, if the here last boolean expression becomes false, it will go to the default else statement. This is the example of an else if statement. Suppose int a equal to 100. Now if a equal to 50, we can type a is with the value of a, that is 100, but here the if statement is false, so it goes for else part. Here also, if you want to execute the else part, it's followed by a condition. That's why we say it's an else if ladder. Else if a equal to 100 of 100 is the value is 100. When you compare the value is the same, we get the we'll print the value as a is 100. Now suppose if the value was not 100, it was say 60. Here it's false, here too it's false, here too. That means these both the conditions are false, so it will go to the default else statement. Typing say would say a is not an integer because it's not fulfilling the condition 50 and 100. Next is the switch statements. This is the quite an important statement. Here we use this when you want to uh, execute a statements into different parts. Here is that we use a variable. It will be tested with equality against a set of values. That means the number of cases. Here each value is called a case. So each case value will be compared with the value that we are giving to the switch, and that case will be executed, and in that case a set of statements will be executed. Now each value is called a case, and the variable being switched on is checked for each case. Here in switch statements we usually use a break statement. The reason why we use a break statement is once we execute the case, we don't want to go to the next case, because since when we test the equality of values, we are getting the first case, and that case is, since it's true, we only need that set of statements, right? So to stop on that case itself, we use a break statement. Else it will continue with the next case, and it will take a lot of memory. Here break statement is used inside the switch to terminate a statement sequence. When a break statement is reached, the switch terminates and the flow jumps to the next line following the switch statement. That means after the switch statement or the conditional statement is fulfilled, it will go to the statement after the switch statement. It means in how the program flows in a sequential order, that is step by step. This is the flow diagram. Here it will be followed by an expression, that is a switch expression. We'll compare the value that we are giving, or the variable that we give with each case. If the variable that we give is 1, it will execute case 1 and the code of it. After that, it will go for the next statement after the switch statement. If it's 2, it will follow the code in case 2 block and go for the next statement. And similar, it is a similar way in the other cases as well. Suppose if none of the cases are that the variable that we give is not equal to any of the cases, that time we use the default statement. That time it will execute the code in the default block. After that, it will go for the next code. Usually we don't use the default statement, it's not necessary there, since it will be followed by a set of statements that we require, right? So if just for an example, usually it is followed by a default statement just to make us understand what a set statement is all about. But usually we won't be needing it because we only be needing the cases that we require here. Now This is the example of a switch statement. Here it's here is the we declare an integer int x equal to, the variable used here is x. Now inside this switch we are allotting a value to x, that means we are allotting 2. Now it's going to be compared to the set of the case value here. Now look, case 1 x equal to 2, right? So we can't execute case 1, but here case 2, since x equal to 2, this value will be compared with the case number value and we'll be executing case 2, and the code will be executed as choices 2, and the program will be the program or the switch statement will be terminated there and will go for the next statement. Since there are no other statements in this code, it will be terminated there and the screen will show choices 2. But suppose if x value was 1, then it will be similar to the case number 1, and the code of case number 1 will be executed and the screen will show choices 1. That was all for today. I hope you understood what selection statements is all about, the if statement, if else, nested if, and the switch statements. If you have any doubts, please comment down below. Please like and subscribe and share my channel. Thank you.